Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here for my regular Monday this and that video where I talk about all different types of topics, cover some questions that have come in the past week, and whatever strikes my fancy for the day. So let's get to the topics of today. And the first thing's going to be about my dehydrating projects I've had going on this past week. So let me start with back here. A lot of you already know if you follow my this and that videos. I've been dehydrating dandelions like crazy. The dandelions have been just suddenly exploding. In fact, here's a couple of pictures I took from one of my sections. I have two sections where I intentionally grow dandelions along with some other herbs. And the south facing section is just exploded. I've never seen that many flowers in one spot in all the years I've been growing it there. So that's definitely something that's going crazy this year already. So yeah, putting up a lot of dandelion flowers. And by the way, if you're interested in the benefits of dandelions, including breaking it down to the different parts, the flowers, the leaves, the roots, I have a video I did a few years ago that I'll link to in the description box down below. So if you might want to check that out if you're new to that. But I use all parts of the dandelion. Well, not the root as much, even though there's a lot of great benefits to the root. Mostly the leaves, the stems, and the flowers. So then some other things, of course, still doing nettle. This is my second quart jar of nettle, just about full there. And I did get started on my comfrey. Already almost have a full quart jar of comfrey. And getting those valerian leaves dried up. I have some more on the dehydrator right now. This jar is about half full. And then horehound. I need to get this one filled up. I usually only try, I don't need a lot of horehound to get us through the year. So I usually try to work at getting a pint jar is plenty. In fact, I still have a bunch from last year. So my goal is to fill up this jar. And then I will try to put up a lot of lemon balm, even though I don't use for ourselves a lot of dried lemon balm through the year. I do like mixing it with the orange mint, and I'll make teas out of that. But I still, when it comes to the lemon balm, I still prefer it fresh in teas. Lemon balm, unlike peppermint, is one of those herbs that just doesn't hold its flavor as well once dehydrated, but it can still work great for teas and medicinal uses, tinctures, and more. But my main purpose of dehydrating it is for adding to my chicken's feed because it's a great antiviral along with a bunch of other herbs like garlic greens, chicory greens, and root, and a bunch of others. In fact, I put a video together last year about some great antiviral herbs and just nutritional herbs for chickens that you can dehydrate and then mix it in with their feed, and it's very good for them. So that's the main purpose of dehydrating it, though I'll probably still put up a jar of lemon balm orange mint dried so I can have that occasionally through the year. But again, mostly that's going to be something I use fresh. So those are the main herbs I've been working on this past week. And then today I'm going to start dehydrating rhubarb. This rhubarb is actually from 2020. I just want to show you what it looks like. And just state again, like I did in last week's video, I don't blanch most things. Let me say that. I usually say I don't blanch anything. Well, that's not entirely true. Sometimes there's things I forget about that I actually cook. But I'll mention that in a minute. But anyway, I'm getting started. My rhubarb's not massive yet. It's still pretty young, but I am starting. I do have a lot out there. So I'm going to start dehydrating some of it. A lot of it I will freeze freezing rhubarb's great if you're going to make a rhubarb wine, which I have a video on that I'll link to down below. But I still have a lot in there from last year because we don't drink. I usually use the wine for either barter or for a lot of cooking and extract purposes, like making medicinal tinctures and so on. But I still have a lot in there, and I have a lot of grapes from last year I still need to turn into wine. So around here are grapes, because we have such a short season, unless you're growing them in the greenhouse, they just don't mature fast enough to get to the point that even after the first freeze, they get real sweet like they should. So they're a sour grape, no matter what grape we grow. And ours are mostly Niagara whites. And so what I do is I freeze them and then I turn them into wine, and that then gets used for many things, especially for marinating and cooking with, sauteing, and so on. In fact, with that said, I have 3 big bags because I think it takes about 3 1-gallon bags, if I remember correctly, to make a gallon of wine. I need to start working through this stuff and making room in my freezer because the spruce tips are going to be coming in soon if they're not already. I haven't been out there yet. And I want to get a bunch of those froze up for making spruce tip syrup and other spruce tip related things. And also make plenty of room for more blackberries because even though I still have a lot of blackberries in there, I'm really starting to want to get a lot of blackberries put up in the freezer. You can can blackberries, and I have, but when it comes to berries, I do tend to prefer to freeze them to really preserve their flavor a little bit better. But canning's fine too. You can can up your berries, and I might end up doing that with some more berries this year just to make more freezer space. So anyway, with that said, I do want to also bring up, like I said, some things I do cook before I dehydrate. And some of that is potatoes. So I have yet to dehydrate potatoes like in slices. I might do that this year with the potatoes coming from the garden. Get some dehydrated for making like scallop potatoes or for using in dishes like making moussaka or other types of potato dishes where you like to use the sliced potatoes. So I'm thinking about doing that this year, but last year my big thing was to make mashed potatoes, dehydrate, then powder them up. And that's actually working pretty good. So I ended up with a couple of quart jars like that. I may can some more this year as well. But anyway, the point is I do cook the potatoes. And the other thing I do cook first is pumpkin or spaghetti squash or any of those kind of squash that I want to turn into a powder for whatever I'm going to use it in, cookies, pies, breads, and so on. And so, or just adding flavoring to whatever. And so it is just easiest to deal with this way, is I just cut the squash in half, seed it out, maybe cut it into quarters, however I can get it to fit into a big roasting pan. And then I'll just put them on the wood stove and then let it cook enough where I can just scoop it out and spread it on my dehydrating trays. And so I have a video just on that, which I'll link to down below, because in that case, I'm going to powder it anyway. So I do actually want it to be more of a puree in the first place. I don't puree it first. I just take it out, mash it, spread it around on the trays. And so I'll do that. So there are a few things I do cook, but rhubarb was one of the things I did try blanching first, and that was the thing that was a horrible mess. It stuck all over the trays. It just, I didn't overcook it. I did it just like the instructions said, and it was horrible. And I said, I'm never doing this again. So I just slice, put it on the trays, and raw, and then dehydrate, and it comes out beautiful, and they cook up great. So I did try that to make sure before I did a whole bunch more. Tried putting some in a pan with some water and cooked it up, and it cooked up beautifully. So you could use that dehydrated rhubarb in making strawberry rhubarb pies or just rhubarb pies or even jams if you want. And so this will take up a lot less room in storage than having to freeze it or can it or whatever. So dehydrating is a great option for your rhubarb. If you're running out of space, this is going to save you a ton doing it this way. One of the other things I'm going to do today, you can see I have these different flours out, is we're having a ladies' luncheon this weekend, and so I need to get some more of my gluten-free flour blend made up because the 2 ladies that are coming need to be gluten-free. So what I'm going to do is make up a really big batch and fill up my jar. And so I'm just saying this because I want to remind everyone that I came across this, I'll come across recipes and then I'll kind of tailor them to suit me according to either what I have on hand or just what I prefer. I'll put the basic recipe in the description box down below, but I'll read it off real quick. And, this is one of those things where you just make a big batch, then you have it on hand and you can just use it as needed. And this is a good one for cookies, biscuits, and more. Not so much a yeast bread recipe, but you could use it for muffins, pancakes, and other types of quick breads. So anyway, the ratios are like this: 4 cups of rice flour, 1 1/3 cups of potato starch, and 2/3 cup of tapioca starch or arrowroot powder or any of those kind of starches like that. So anyway, that's one of the things I'm going to do, is just make a big batch and then have that on hand for, whenever I'm making anything like cookies and so on. So here's a picture of cookies. These are actually the same cookies I'm going to make this weekend. And these are my cowboy cookie recipe, which I'll link to that down below, except using the gluten-free flour blend in there instead of any kind of wheat flour. Okay, and more garden related stuff, by the way. I've been getting more and more stuff put in the ground. I did get some of my beans planted. I got more beans soaking here. It's a variety of beans. I've got purple, I've got the Sunset Runner, the Scarlet Runner, I've got the Black Coat Runner that was sent to me by one of my followers, plus the Black Cherokee Trail of Tears beans. Got those soaking, so I'm going to get some more planted in the ground tomorrow. I've been getting more potatoes planted. I've started my pumpkin, my zucchini, my corn, the chocolate cherry sunflowers, which are already starting to pop up out of the little pot I have in the greenhouse. I've been getting more and more of my tomato plants put into the ground. The weather's been staying warm enough. My peppers everything's moved out to the greenhouse now. I have nothing in the house anymore. And anyway, so that's some of the garden related stuff besides just doing a little bit of cleanup here and there and moving things around. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about a post I made recently about YouTube restrictions. So since I got an email from YouTube, they do send you an email about some policy changes. I thought, well, I better go to the health section and see what kind of restrictions they have in there. Now, I can't say for certain if all these things are new, but they have added a couple more natural things that people have been using for years. In fact, one of them is something you can commonly find in certain fruit seeds. You cannot talk about that stuff anymore. And as such, just like with some other videos I've had to take off here before YouTube removed them and gave me a strike, no matter how old they are, it doesn't matter. If they change the policy, any video can get flagged and then taken down, and then you get a strike on your channel. If they only just changed the policy and the video is 10 years old, that doesn't matter. You can still get a strike. And when you have over 1,800 videos, it can be hard to remember what you talked about where and when, and in keeping track of all these different changes. So yes, they've added a few things. And so any of those kind of videos that I can't have here, they get put over on my Rumble channel. So I've had the Rumble channel for over a year, even though I had to take several months off because I was having issues with uploading. I'm back to uploading there on a regular basis, and any videos that are not allowed here on YouTube are now over on Rumble. But that doesn't mean, I got to say this every time because people assume anytime I mention Rumble, it means I'm leaving YouTube and going to Rumble only. No, I'm not doing that. I'm still going to be on YouTube. I'm going to be here as long as I possibly can. You just got to understand, as they get more and more strict about what they won't allow here, that means there's more and more videos that I have to put over on Rumble because I can't put them here. Just so you know, some people are like, oh, I won't go to Rumble because they're so right-leaning. No thanks. I'm a Democrat. Who cares? Who cares? I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, so neither one of those matter to me. To me, it's about having a place where, at least for the time being, these things are actually allowed. Just so you know, I actually have accounts at many different places, but for several reasons, I decided not to post there, and I will certainly never go to Brighteon. I know a lot of people trust the guy that owns it. I do not. I used to years ago. I do not anymore. Just because somebody claims something to be true and you trust them because they've been right in other areas does not mean they're right in everything. Just take everything anyone says with a grain of salt and vet it yourself. Don't assume just because me or anyone else says something that makes it fact. Everything should be vetted. You should always learn how to do your own research, but it's still very hypocritical because of the fact that we can't talk about natural substances that have been used to cure many ailments for a minimum of hundreds of years. There's a historical documentation of it. There's scientific publications put out that you can still find if you look for it about the therapeutic benefits of these different things. And there's the proof. The proof is all out there, yet they can get you to take any kind of prescription as long as they say, hey, it's safe and effective. And then the fact that there's no studies, no safety studies on how these different medications are going to react when you're put on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, one right on top of the other. And each one is put in place to counteract the symptoms of the first one. And so now you're on, 50 different medications and wondering why you're still not feeling better. And, that's okay. They can advertise and push that stuff. But it's getting to where you can talk about fewer and fewer natural substances. So, I don't know what's going to be added to the list next. So I'm just letting you know, this is why, one of the main reasons why I have a Rumble channel. So I have a place to put that where people can still learn and think for themselves. So they're telling you can't think for yourselves when somebody gives you information and then, oh, it's too dangerous, and people are stupid. They don't know how to, some people are. Some people don't know how to think for themselves. But if we all learned how to think for ourselves, instead of just listening to what any one voice tells us, we'd be a lot better off. So anyway, I just wanted to say that is why I have Rumble. I think those were the topics. All the topics I meant to cover today. So, and by the way, don't forget, you can find me on Freesteading. But when it comes to contacting me for anything, it doesn't matter what social media, doesn't matter if it's Patreon, Facebook, whatever. Just because I may have a presence there, it doesn't mean I'm going to see your messages. So always, if you have questions that you'd rather not put in comments, even comments can get missed because they get buried. So it's best to always email me, raincountryhomestead@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I will definitely see your email, even if I do miss your messages in other places. So if you message me at some place like Instagram or some crazy place that I'm never on, and you're wondering why you're not hearing back from me, well, that's why. I'm not seeing your messages because, well, I'm just not there. So anyway, I hope this gave you a few ideas of things to start dehydrating, and I'll be doing a video just on dehydrating rhubarb and some more. So watch for those to come out. And don't forget to check out the links I'll be putting in the description box down below. You're going to, somewhere down here, you're going to see the word more or show more. Just click on that. It'll open it up. And then you can find anything I put in there. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.